Good afternoon, Chief Justice and the commissioners.
Are you well, sir?
I'm fine, thank you for asking.
You were a district court magistrate for about 4 or 5 years, is that correct?
100% correct.
So you picked up a lot of judicial experience from there.
That is correct, Chief Justice.
And then for about 20 years almost, you've been a regional court magistrate.
That is correct, Chief Justice.
And that's a wealth of experience.
I should think so.
Yes. Just before the commissioners ask you this other question, let's just clear it out to avoid confusion. From 1998 to 2007, you were a magistrate already and yet a member of the African National Congress.
Yes, Commissioner, at some stage, I was the member of the ANC.
Just clear it out. How do you become a magistrate and a member of a party at the same time? Just explain it away so that it gets off the way.
Well, at that stage, it was a coincidence that I took up the membership as in a card. A cousin of mine who was very active in the ANC, he happened to convince me then that just be a member, and I was very much immature at that stage. And then the family members, almost in those days, remember, almost everybody was ANC among the people in the township and everywhere, almost everybody. But with hindsight, I realized that that is not on, yes. And I never renewed the membership.
Yes. You realized it was an error. You can't be a judicial officer and be a member of a political party at the same time.
Exactly, Chief Justice.
That's why you quit.
I quit, yes.
Yes. And at some stage you were the president of ARAMSA, is that correct? The Association of Regional Magistrates of South Africa.
That is correct, Chief Justice, for only one term.
But that's a 2-year term, is that not so?
It's supposed to be 2, but I served only 1.
What is your role as a patron of the International Association of Women Judges? What is the role of a patron?
What happened is when I was the president of ARMSA, I forged links with the organization because my view was that as regional magistrate, we had to support transformation and we have to be seen to support transformation. And in those days, ARMSA was almost predominantly white males. The image was not okay. I forged links with the then president of the association. She's now a judge. And then I managed to convince the executive of ARMSA that we had to associate ourselves with progressive organizations. And it is good that we support this organization because it's for women judges, it's promoting women's rights within the judiciary. And I became the patron from then, since then until today.
Was your master's degree through coursework or was it a pure dissertation?
It was coursework and short dissertation.
On dissertation on?
The causes of global warming, it's international law. It's about the reason why we are having this climate change.
Yes.
I did a research on that.
Yes. I assume the courses would have been about 4, at most 5.
Yes, Chief Justice, almost there.
What were they?
Fossil fuels.
No, I mean the
or
courses.
The courses. To be honest with you, Chief Justice, I can't recall. I'm not going to put my head on the block. I can't recall. It's a long time ago.
Okay.
If it's not 2000, it's 2001.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. And you acted as a judge.
Yes, Chief Justice, since 2002.
And did you enjoy it?
Very much so.
And what is the longest it took you to deliver a reserve judgment?
I will say about 1.5 months.
And all in all, for how long did you act as a judge?
Sure. Chief Justice, I started in 2002 in Johannesburg, the last term. And there was a break because I had shortcomings on civil experience. And the then JP, Judge Ngwepe, introduced bridging courses for magistrate to the High Court bench on civil law. So during that break, I did not act until I think 2013, where the current JP then placed me in civil courts. But of course, after I attended the aspirant judges courses, both of them. And in terms of weeks, I think 60 or 65, I'm not quite sure.
So you had a fairly long acting stint.
Very long, more than, I will say, not counting the weeks, it's more than 10 or 15 years.
Yes. Thank you. JP?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Mfowethu,
JP, good afternoon.
that's how we address each other, isn't it?
Yeah, kunjalo JP.
You've actually acted for a total of 90 weeks, 90.
Thank you, JP. Now I remember, yes.
Yes. Now, but I just want to take you back. When you started out, you were a prosecutor
Yes, JP,
in
I was.
Johannesburg.
Correct, yes. No, I started, sorry, JP, to interrupt. I started in Verulem. It's a town somewhere in, I think, north of Durban. I started there in 1990 in Verulem, yes.
Yeah. Am I mistaken that in our earlier years as young practitioners, you as a prosecutor, as me as a lawyer, we locked horns on many occasions?
Yes, JP, the last trial I did in the regional court, you were defending and I was the prosecutor in Johannesburg.
Right. The question is, who won?
It's simple to answer it because I'll never forget it. And we were in the middle of the trial, and then I was appointed a magistrate, and then I went to him, I said, "You are lucky, I'm going now."
But why don't you tell the commission that we have a draw? You won 3, I won 3.
I will say so, JP, yes.
I just want to focus on your acting experience. You've mentioned that when you had a break, you had to go sharpen up on your civil exposure. But the bulk or your strength is really in criminal law, isn't it?
JP, I will say that that is my, I will regard myself as an expert in criminal law.
Yes, I mean, sitting in the regional court, you've dealt with some of the most serious matters. And when you dealt with the criminal trials in the High Court, you were also allocated some of the heavies. Am I correct?
You are 100% correct, JP. I did some of the serial rapist matters, I think 4 or 5 long matters in the High Court.
Yeah. Now, I just want you to give the commission the confidence, because if you look at your spreadsheet, it's clear that from 2014, you started dealing with civil work, that you can hold your own in the civil areas. I mean, you've done 3 weeks in the opposed motion, for starters, and you did a week in agent court, 2 weeks in the agent court and 1 week in the third court.
That is correct, JP.
Did you encounter any hardships or problems in doing work on the civil part?
JP, not at all.
Yeah. And you regard yourself as ready?
Very much ready since 2002.
Right. And am I correct that in the regional court, correct me if I'm wrong, you've not sat in the civil section of the regional court?
JP, since the civil law was introduced in the regional court, I am also sitting there
Okay.
on civil trials, divorce matters, sometimes opposed and unopposed motion.
Yes. And thank you very much for availing yourself for this interview. I
Thank-
appreciate it.
thank you, JP.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, JP. MEC?
No questions.
Thank you, MEC. President Maya?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, President.
I just want to clarify one aspect in your questionnaire that has already been raised with you by the Chief Justice. Is it fine? This patronage of yours with the Women Judges Association, to which association does it relate? Because you mentioned the IAWJ, which is the mother body based in Washington, D.C. Are you perhaps referring to the South African chapter?
President, I'm referring to the South African chapter. Sorry for the confusion.
Oh. Can you just explain to me, my attention was drawn by your description of your members, well, of your involvement with the association as a patron. And as far as I know, the association only has women patrons and women who have played a special role, in gender activism. And its patrons, since its inception, 2004 until now, Justice Yvonne Mokhoro, former Minister of Justice, Minister Mabandla, and Advocate Joyce Maluleke, who helped establish the association under Minister Mabandla. Can you just explain to me how you come into the mix?
Okay, the South African chapter of the women judges is open to, the membership is open also to male persons.
What I want to find out is whether you are a patron as you describe yourself, or a member, a friend, actually not a member, a friend of the chapter, which is the only membership that is allowed to males.
Okay, to clarify that, I am a member, yes, but since 2015 or 14, I could not attend their AGMs due to certain reasons. So, but I am a paid-up member of the organization.
Not a patron as you describe yourself.
Well, it might be misleading to say patron. The reason why I mentioned that is because I haven't been actively involved for the last 5 years.
No, I would humbly request that you change that, because it's an appellation we accord to special people who are very special to the association, and you are certainly not a patron of the chapter.
I will accept, President. Yes, I am a member, yes, and I'm
All
a
right.
paid-up member.
Paid-up member.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's not only myself, it's a number of other regional magistrates and also attorneys who are members. I'm referring to male persons, men.
No, I'm asking about you specifically.
Yes, I am a member, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Fori?
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
In the comments from the law bodies, the Democratic,
Commissioner Fori, please put it closer.
the Democratic Governance and Rights Unit of the University of Cape Town quote some media coverage that you've enjoyed. Have you read that?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
If I may just quote, they say that a magistrate in the Pretoria Magistrates Court told a convicted rapist he should not have committed the crime because he was rich and could easily have afforded the services of sex workers. Magistrate David Makhoba said this before sentencing so-and-so, a rich Nigerian national, to 15 years of jail. He is a man of high caliber. He is said to have been a director of a big company and also lives in a mansion worth millions. But his actions speak otherwise. There are sex workers he could have gone to. Will you correctly quote it, Mr. Makhoba?
Commissioner, that's not how I talk. In any case, when I saw that, I immediately contacted the court manager for me to listen to the record. From last week, Monday, I was promised that I will be afforded the opportunity to listen to the record because I dispute that that's not how I speak in court. Without having the record before me of what I said on the bench, I am unable to say anything more, but I can assure you I don't speak like that in court. This is from a report from a journalist. You know, journalists can misrepresent what magistrates say, or they can put it in another context. But I don't have the record of that. Therefore, I am unable to help you on that.
That's why I want to give you the opportunity to explain it.
Yes.
Because as it reads here, it says, because you are rich, you should not have raped because you could have afforded the availability or the services of sex workers.
Now, unfortunately,
Now,
sorry, Commissioner.
it goes
Yes.
without saying that that's very disturbing because, for example, what would you have told somebody that is not rich? Would that be justifiable then?
Okay.
But can you remember what you said in the context thereof? Because in fairness, I want you to give you the opportunity to explain this, because as it's stated here, it's very disturbing to me.
What I can remember are the facts of the case and what happened, and that I uttered those words. I dispute that unless somebody bring a transcribed record. That's not how I speak. To those who know me, I don't utter such words. Anyway, as I've already said, it's from a journalist, it's not from the court record.
So you say you didn't say that because he was rich, he could have done something else?
No, I dispute that. And I will say the record must be produced, the court record. But as I want to emphasize, I don't speak like that in court.
I'll leave it at that, Mr.
Thank you.
Makhoba. Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Fourie. Prof?
Thank you, CJ. Good afternoon, Mr. Makhoba.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
I'm covered by CP as well, but one comment that came from NBCSA is that you don't seem to have expertise in constitutional law. How would you respond to that comment? And secondly, your Van der Westhuizen case, the order is left hanging. You didn't order as to costs against whom. You just wrote cost of suit.
Okay, I will start with the first question, Commissioner. As a presiding officer, either in the High Court or the lower court, any matter that comes before us has got constitutional imperatives that we, as a magistrate, you must take into account. Well, I have never dealt with a matter specifically that had constitutional questions or whatever. But as a presiding officer, any matter that comes before us, the Constitution is referred to. Whether it's criminal, whether it's civil, every day the Constitution is referred to. Therefore, I will say I apply the Constitution in every matter, every day of my life. There are arguments before me with constitutional questions. For instance, justice delays, justice denied, that is the Constitution. I have to see to it that the Constitution is applied. The one for costs, I will not argue with that. I should have specified more than that. Maybe it was an oversight on my part. But in most of my civil matters, the question of costs is properly spelled out.
Tlama. Thank you very much. Commissioner Kane? Commissioner Kane?
Thank you, Judge President. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to follow up on two of my fellow commissioners' questions. The first pertains to Mr. Fari's question. I accept that you didn't say those words. If somebody in court had said them, could you explain what would be offensive about such words pertaining to the rape, I'm saying, or a rapist's conduct?
Madam, thank you.
I will say it's, as a presiding officer, you choose your words. You do not bring such issues in court. According to the report, it was said he could have easily gone to a brothel or something like that. It's unnecessary to say such words. What did I say on that day? I cannot say what I said because I don't have the record myself. But as I keep on repeating, that's not how I speak in court.
Thank you. The other issue I'd like to just traverse a bit further is that raised by the Judge President. In paragraph 10 of your questionnaire, the question is, what would you regard as your most significant contribution to the law and pursuit of justice in South Africa? And you answered that in 2013 you decided to join the International Association of Women Judges and to support women in their pursuit for justice within the judiciary. Could you explain to the Commission what steps you took other than joining and paying the fees of that association? For example, what events have you attended in that regard?
Okay, the first step, when I was the president of ARMSA, I managed to convince some of our colleagues to join ranks with this organization. It must not just be seen as a women organization. Magistrates, I refer to men, male, should support them. And I managed to convince few of them who I'm not sure whether they're still members. That is my contribution. And I receive their magazines and whatever, wherever I can, I do speak with the president of the organization on whatever issue she wants me to assist with. That's my contribution so far.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you, SC. Commissioner Malema?
Thank you very much, CJ. What is your take on these issues we are confronted with of domestic violence and rape in South Africa currently?
Commissioner, my take is this, that there's a lot of education to be done towards men and our children, our sons. There's a lot of not just talking that must be put in place. You know, I sit in court and like yesterday in sexual offenses court is bad. Other than sitting on the bench, I think there's a lot of education that must be done. A lot. By politicians, everybody, church organizations. I'm trying my level best. I ask my colleagues, let's join hands with these women in the women judges. But on the ground, what else can be done? I will say so far, education, politicians, they must play their part in these rallies because as a presiding officer, there's nothing more I can do. The politicians must come to the party like they do in these xenophobic attacks. I think the louder it is, not only politicians in the church, when people on the ground watch TV and they see that the politicians and everybody, they talk about these things. I think that's the best that can be done under the circumstances, Commissioner. That's my view.
The issue of rape, is it one of the issues that trouble you and causes you a nightmare and you are extremely concerned about?
Commissioner, just a few months ago, let me just say a few months ago, on Thursday, I dealt with a matter where a 45-year-old guy raped an 11-year-old. It's traumatic. I'm talking about Thursday. It's bad out there, especially we presiding officer who listen to these things every day. It's one other thing that it must be addressed by both the politicians, faith-based organizations, schools. That's my comment.
Thank you.
Honorable Dodovo.
Yes, I just want to make a follow-up on that matter.
Yes.
That being the case as you state, most of the sentences are long-term, including life. And as you know, that there is no death penalty in South Africa. Some of the people who want us to confront this matter say chemical castration, or for a lack of better word, if I'm wrong, is one of the solutions. What is your view on that?
Well, you caught me off guard. I never thought about that. I know that some people are making noise about the death penalty. The chemical castration, how will it help? That is my problem. Maybe as a deterrent, yes, but I don't think I will support that one.
Will it be lawful and constitutional to do it?
No, in our criminal jurisdiction, we don't have such sentences.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Honorable Moiman.
Thank you, Chief Justice. Good afternoon, Mr. Makhoba.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Just one question. Do you think that the prescribed minimum sentence by the legislature, is it not an interference with the discretion of the court? And also, don't you think that the instruction by the court to Parliament to amend a particular section that deals with the independence of the NPA is also an interference with the work of Parliament? Thank you.
Commissioner, to answer your first question, there was a school of thought when the minimum sentence was first introduced. There was a school of thought that was against it. It was viewed as an interference. But it has been on our statute books. The Constitutional Court has ruled on the constitutionality of this piece of legislation. If one reads the judgment of the Constitutional Court, I think it's spot on and it explains exactly, succinctly, why this is not an interference. If it's supported by the Constitutional Court, I can assure you, then you cannot fault it, or you'll find it difficult to fault it. The second one, where the court asked the Parliament to interfere with certain parts of the legislation, I think from my experience, the courts are reluctant to do that, and the courts will never easily do that. It's only after a court is satisfied that that is within the Constitution to ask Parliament to do that. Otherwise, the court will not do that.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you so much, Honorable Moiman. President Maya.
I just wanted to find out if you wrote a judgment in the Adebamowo case, Mr. Makhoba.
Are there?
That was raised with you by Commissioner Fore
Oh,
of the Nigerian rapist.
it sounds familiar, yes.
Find out if you recall writing a judgment, because I was busy looking under JOL and the other search engines and I can't find it. Was there a
No,
judgment?
sorry, President. It was a matter that I dealt with in the regional court, which you will never find in the list. It's not a high court matter.
No, magistrates' judgments are sometimes reported in JOL. I've seen them.
No,
Did you deliver an ex-tempore judgment?
I can't recall.
You can't recall.
Can't recall. It's
Okay.
a long time ago.
Thank you.
When these when did you become aware of these allegations, the newspaper allegations?
Chief Justice, it's last week, Monday or Tuesday, when I read the submissions.
And did you visit the record of the proceedings relating to that matter so that you can see the judgment that you produced? Because my limited experience with the regional court magistrates in particular is that they tend to be quite thorough and detailed in the judgments that they write.
Chief Justice, I can even give you the number of the person who was assisting me. His name is Eric Mbata, based in Pretoria Magistrate Court. He promised me that he has logged the call and he is waiting for the response. And the last time I asked him yesterday morning, no one has assisted.
No, I don't mean the recorded one. I meant the one you wrote. Did you check whether you have written a judgment and whether it is there? I'm asking because the judgments I wrote many years back, they are still there somewhere. If I want them, I can access them, though they are
Oh,
in writing. So I was asking in that spirit, did you check whether you not only have something recorded, but you had also written a judgment?
yes, Chief Justice. I started by checking my old matters because I don't just destroy them. After 5 or 3 years, due to lack of space, some of them I destroyed. I did check if it's not there.
Thank you. Your excuse, sir.
Thank you, Chief Justice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.